Welcome to Whatsoever More or Less, a channel where citizens diligently study the U.S. Constitution for ourselves, seeking to understand it in the tradition of the founders. Occasionally references will come from leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as our doctrine contains a strong tradition of defending the Constitution. A brief introduction. My name is Jason Gartner. After spending a couple years listening to and reading books like the Federalist Papers, books by historians about our founders and their original intents, Supreme Power, 7 Pivotal Court Decisions That Had a Major Impact on America by Ted Stewart, talks by Ezra Taft Benson, etc., I began to take more interest in reading the Constitution for myself. I attended a lecture at Heritage Academy where the lecturer taught us to identify sections of the Constitution that had lists and then rewrite those lists more clearly for ourselves to understand. It took me a while to fully get around to following his challenge, but for the past year or two I have studied the written Constitution itself every day. I have found a system of analysis that made sense and made the Constitution very easy to understand for me. I call it the 7 P's of the Constitution. Giving credit where it's due, before my confidence to understand the Constitution really took off, I had read a lot of H. Verlin Anderson, Dallin H. Oaks, and Ezra Taft Benson books and talks. I have many other YouTube channels and authors to credit, but I want to emphasize those 3 leaders. It was in reviewing and analyzing the talk Defending Our Divinely Inspired Constitution by Dallin H. Oaks that I noticed the word principles. He said there were at least 5 inspired principles he had noticed in the Constitution. I remembered that President Benson had said that the Constitution would be saved by those who understood the principles of the Constitution. It was that connection between the two that led me to really dig into understanding the principles of the Constitution that finally gave me the final push to dig into the Constitution itself. The Principles of the Constitution by Ezra Taft Benson. 1. The principle of agency. We should have maximum freedom that we may be accountable for our own sins. Freedom has been rare in Earth's history. 2. The proper role of government. Government has a most basic proper role of the protection of life, liberty, and control of properties. Citizens should uphold government that exclusively performs its proper role. 3. The source of human rights. God, not government, is the source of human rights. 4. People are superior to government. People are superior to the government they create. 5. Governments should have limited power. The people cannot delegate to government a power which they themselves do not possess. The Principles of the Constitution by Dallin H. Oaks. First is the principle that the source of government power is the people. A second inspired principle is the division of delegated powers between the nation and its subsidiary states. A third inspired principle is the separation of powers. The inspiration in the American Convention was to delegate independent executive, legislative, and judicial powers so these 3 branches could exercise checks upon one another. A fourth inspired principle is the cluster of vital guarantees of individual rights and specific limits on government authority in the Bill of Rights, adopted by amendment just 3 years after the Constitution went into force. Fifth, we are to be governed by law and not by individuals. Our loyalty is to the Constitution and its principles and processes, not to any office holder. I begin with the assumption that we aren't truly fully following the Constitution, as President Benson said. It is now 200 years since the Constitution was written. Have we been wise beneficiaries of the gift entrusted to us? Have we valued and protected the principles laid down by this great document? At this bicentennial celebration, we must with sadness say that we have not been wise in keeping the trust of our founding fathers. For the past 2 centuries, those who do not prize freedom have chipped away at every major clause of our Constitution until today we face a crisis of great dimensions. We are fast approaching that moment prophesied by Joseph Smith when he said, "Even this nation will be on the very verge of crumbling to pieces and tumbling to the ground. And when the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin, this people will be the staff upon which the nation shall lean, and they shall bear the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction." I believe that it is every citizen's responsibility to study diligently, then speak openly and confidently about the Constitution as exhorted by Ezra Taft Benson. We must learn the principles of the Constitution and then abide by its precepts. Have we read the Constitution and pondered it? Are we aware of its principles? Could we defend it? Can we recognize when a law is constitutionally unsound? The Church will not tell us how to do this, but we are admonished to do it. We must be wisely informed and let others know how we feel. I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith, but it will not be saved in Washington. It will be saved by the citizens of this nation who love and cherish freedom. It will be saved by enlightened members of this church, men and women who will subscribe to and abide by the principles of the Constitution. If an act of government is constitutional, it falls within definable parameters. From Federalist Number 45 by James Madison, the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. And from Doctrine and Covenants 98, and now verily I say unto you, concerning the laws of the land, it is my will that my people should observe to do all things whatsoever I command them, and that the law of this land, which is constitutional, supporting that principle of freedom and maintaining rights and privileges, belongs to all mankind and is justifiable before me. Therefore, I, the Lord, justify you and your brethren of my church in befriending that law which is the constitutional law of the land. And as pertaining to the law of man, whatsoever is more or less than this cometh of evil. I, the Lord God, make you free. Therefore ye are free indeed, and the law also maketh you free. I find these 7 P's of the Constitution measurable. Number 1, people's consent. 2, proper purposes. 3, powers enumerated. 4, positions of power. 5, procedures to validate. 6, promises guaranteed. 7, powers prohibited. In future videos, I will get into discussing these 7 P's more while referencing the text of the Constitution itself. I believe all 7 P's are absolutely important and consistent with the principles taught by President Benson and President Oaks. Thank you for listening.